there, this is Dana Arcuri, author, speaker, and wellness coach from danaarcuri.com. And today's video is on the topic of, is going vegan hard? And I think that question, number one, is a hard question because it's very personal. Going vegan and choosing a vegan lifestyle is so personal, and every single person has a different background. They have a different lifestyle. Everyone's starting point is somewhere unique. So what may have been your starting point in your life and your eating habits and your lifestyle and the way you were raised and how you're living could be so dramatically different than mine. So in a way, I think we can't really compare each other's transition from being a meat eater to being a vegan. So having this like so-called, plant-based diet, it's really difficult to actually judge and base our transition on one another. So I really think the answer, number one, would be don't compare yourself to anyone. And then if I just make it personal and I just talk about me, here we go. So my transition, which really began, in my opinion, last year when I went to see the documentary from Plant Pure Nation, my very first documentary to really kind of open up my eyes, gain a little insight, and start really thinking about a vegan lifestyle. Because prior to that, I didn't put much thought into it. Even though I had one child who was already vegan and his girlfriend's vegan, I personally never put a lot of thought or reading or education into any of it. It wasn't until I gradually went through my own personal experience with meat and got to a place that was really odd, and I found it odd. So the experience was this. I went last summer to the Plant Pure Nation documentary. And then at the end of last year, so we're talking in the fall and in the winter, I started noticing that I was feeling sick. I'm talking physically ill from consuming meat. And it wasn't really even just meat. It was also just animal protein in general, whether, we're talking seafood, whether we're talking, an actual steak or chicken or ground beef, whatever it may have been. And that time, at that phase of my journey, I was eating meat, I'd say 95% of the time in my diet. So we're talking a meat eater, a meat lover. And I started noticing that every time I had, just for an example, ground meat, I noticed I felt really sick. I'm talking, digestive discomfort. My stomach really started hurting. I started feeling more aches and pains. I started feeling just crummy, overall not well. And it really gave me insight into, something had to be going on in my body. There had to be something more to this. So it made me really question what is happening to me and how come every time I consume animal protein, I don't feel good. And I think, even when you take a look back and I go further back, so I go to 5 years ago when I had a transition again in my diet where I went from eating what I call regular American Western standard food to going gluten-free. Even then, there was that beginning stage before I really went wholeheartedly into gluten-free. I had to first really connect the dots. So you connect the dots on, hey, I just ate wheat toast and I feel really bad. I don't feel good. I hurt all over. I can't think. I have brain fog. I have insomnia, constipation. My stomach hurts really bad. We're talking abdominal pain and grumbling and rumbling and so forth. And I had to connect those dots. Of course, it was a whole lot easier to connect the dots when I ended up with over 20 to 30 inflamed ulcers inside my mouth, covering my tongue, my lips, inside, outside, going down my throat. I couldn't drink, I couldn't eat, I couldn't swallow, I couldn't talk, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't function. My life was disabled. It was a really, really horrific experience. And sometimes we have to take a good look at the picture. We can't just look at the symptoms, because in Western medicine, they want to look at the symptoms. You have a migraine, let's give you this drug. You have high blood pressure, we're going to give you that drug. You have hyperthyroidism, boom, we're going to give you that drug. And so the problem with Western medicine, they just want to fix you with pharmaceutical medications, or they want to do surgery and do invasive procedures on you and your body that I don't necessarily believe that is the first option. It may not even be the second, third, or fourth option. Really, when you take a look at your health and when you take a look at your quality of life, so we're talking body, mind, spirit, we're talking cognitive function, your ability to be a productive person in our society, you have to look outside the box. And that's the problem with Western medicine, is they don't look outside the box. They have a very narrow, small box in which the drug industry is overruling. It is the money maker. And we already know that where money is earned and where wealth is gained, that is where the focus will be on. I mean, look at your advertisements on TV. You could just be watching a football game. You could be watching the news or whatever it may be. And there is no doubt advertisement after advertisement on one drug after another drug with this long list of side effects or potential interactions and sometimes black box warnings. And nevertheless, I've had my own experience from severe interactions from a multitude of drugs, in which I wrote in my memoir, Harvest of Hope, Living Victoriously Through Adversity. You could check that out at danaarcuri.com. But nevertheless, the point is, when we are looking at our health, we always have to consider nutrition. We always have to consider everything, the full picture. What are you putting into your body? What are you using? What cleaning products? What personal care products? What do you come into contact with environmentally? Maybe at work? Are you exposed to toxic, harsh chemicals? So there's so much more than this, so let's get back on task. Is it hard to go vegan? No, for me, I personally don't think it was, because when you've already gone through 5 years of cleaning up your diet with the gluten and the dairy, because I am lactose intolerant, and I also believe I don't do well with dairy, and I've already experienced it. I know it. I'm well educated on me and my body, and I'm trying just to honor that my body does not do well with dairy. And keeping that in mind, that's a big reason why I took those steps to basically improve my health and improve my life. So one thing that we will always have to consider is, where is your starting point? If you are a basically pretty clean eater already, it may not be as difficult to have a transition into a vegan lifestyle. Whereas if you have, a background and lifestyle where you are a meat lover, it could be a little more difficult to give it up. It could be a little more difficult, on which I say, don't do it in one day. Don't do it in 1 month. Just as even in myself, the transition was most definitely not a one-day overnight progress. The success for me was a slow, gradual process from last year all the way through this year. So we're talking many months of just getting to a point where I'm reading about a vegan lifestyle. I'm learning, I'm watching documentaries and videos, and I'm becoming more accustomed to, what does this mean? What foods are safe? What does it mean? What are the other aspects involved? So then you have to look at the health end of it. And then there's so much more. I have some notes. I could stay right on task here. So there's the ethical aspect and animal rights, which I am actually starting to think about my transition to becoming a vegan. And I was thinking initially that it was my health. Now that I'm really reading and thinking, and I'm trying to go back through the last 6 months especially, I have to be honest, I'm now thinking it was the ethical end of it, that it wasn't as much health as it was the animal rights and the ethical aspect of veganism. And the reason was because last summer when I did go to Plant Pure Nation and I tried for a few weeks to just stop eating meat and, stop animal protein, it didn't really work well for me. And I think because then I was only thinking of the health aspect. But this year, when I started really watching documentaries like Earthlings, Vegucated, and there's so many great ones out there, I really made a connection. And I think that is the biggest change for me, that you watch these documentaries and you watch these animals who are brutally tortured, all for the name of the mighty dollar, and that our world is saying, the mindset, hey, it's okay to eat meat. You need your protein from meat and you need your calcium from dairy. And hey, well, that's where cows come into the picture. And it's okay to drink milk. And hey, got milk, the whole mustache and, all the little advertisements, got milk. Well, you know what? They make it nice and pretty and they know how to package it for advertising. And that's what it is. It's a moneymaker. And trust me, for advertisement, they will go to great lengths and spend as much money as possible to get a winning ad that will just grab everyone's attention and make it think, make everyone believe that it's okay to drink milk, that it's okay to consume animal protein. But you're not seeing the real truth. You're not seeing what's happening in the farming and meat industry, where these animals are brutally tortured, where these poor little baby calves who are just born, and the mother cow gave birth and she's crying. She's crying and screaming for that baby of hers, and that baby's screaming for its mother, and it wants to nurse from the mother. And in reality, this is like totally nuts. And what's even more inhumane when you think about it is that we're drinking cow's milk. Like, would you give a cat your breast milk? Would you give a donkey your breast milk? Would you feed your little puppy your breast milk? I don't think so. Would you drink any other form of breast milk? I don't think so. Because humans know how important it is to feed our babies and nourish our babies with the best milk. And that's our mother's breast milk. That's how God designed it. I don't believe God designed humans to drink some other animal's milk. And, call me crazy if you will, but I think you should at least consider researching it yourself. Consider researching too what casein does to the brain. There's all these people who have autism, schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, ADHD. I could tell you stories about my own family and how nutrition was directly linked to their ADHD. I am an ADD mother who raised 3 kids with ADHD and learning disabilities. And I guarantee you, when I gave my son as a child, I gave him ice cream or I gave him a glass of milk, he bounced off those walls with an intense hyperactivity. The casein causes some serious implications with our neurotransmitters and our central nervous system, in which it changes our behavior. And it may not always be a pretty picture for some people. So it's something to consider. But let's go back to the question again. Is going vegan hard? And so the answer is not simple. I can't say yes for you and I can't say no for you, but I could say that it has to be something that A, you want to do, B, you educate yourself on it before you choose to do this. You investigate every credible source that you could find and really delve in deep to the knowledge, to the true facts, get your evidence, and really decide for yourself, what is your reason? Is it something that's more health-wise, where you're thinking maybe it would help you improve your health? Because I believe our health is important. Is it something ethical along with animal rights? I believe that is really a very credible, important point, because we need to be understanding the true facts of where we get our animal protein. We need to also learn that we don't need animal protein to survive, that people, try to brainwash us to believe that, yes, you need animal protein and that's your only source of protein. But I'm telling you right now today that you don't have to take anyone's opinion. You could research it for yourself and you could ask your own self, what reason do you believe would be worth gaining a life, increasing your wellness, having a higher quality of life, having more energy, having improved cognitive function, and being able to really live a life with vibrant health and longevity. So it's something to think about. And once again, there's never simple, straight answers, but it's really a personal matter. And once again, as far as myself, I think the transition was much easier, being that I had already made lifestyle changes and I've already been on a journey for over 7 years to increase my quality of life. If you'd like to read more, you'd like to check out my website, you'd like to check out my books on health and wellness, you may go to danaarcuri.com. Thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.